Hi, my name is Andres Quintero and today I will compare the Nikon Z5 with the Sony A7 IV. I have been using the cameras for a good amount of time, the Nikon Z5 since almost 1 year and the Sony A7 IV since January when I was able to grab one. This is a very strange comparison, you may think, because one camera costs almost twice that the other camera. Both are able to make photography and video, but does it worth to pay twice as much for getting one camera over the other one? I would like to start with the ergonomics. The Nikon Z5 has a really organic shape that is very comfortable to grab. It really feels like it was made for human hands. By the other hand, the Sony A7 IV has a more geometrical product design that is very recognizable by the Sony product. Another important part in the ergonomics is the screen. In the Nikon Z5, you can slightly rotate the screen, which makes it very difficult to make photos in certain positions, like vertically, from top or from bottom. The image quality in this screen is fine, but you usually need to zoom in order to see if the photo is in focus or not. By the other hand, with the Sony A7 IV, you will get a completely flippable screen, which is very practical for making photography in any position. As well, the screen is very bright. Under Sony conditions, the colors are very lifelike. It supports some professional options like being able to watch videos in S-Log3 with gamma correction. Another important aspect of the ergonomics are the quantity of buttons that you can configure. In the Nikon Z5, I like that there are two buttons in front of the camera that are very easy to press and you can configure two different stuff. I usually use them for showing and hiding the grid and for changing the focus mode. In the Sony A7 IV, there are more buttons that you can configure for whatever you want. As well as the camera has more options, it's also possible to go further with the configuration that you want to use for different situations. It's really incredible how much you can configure this camera and as well how fast you can work with it. The image quality is very good in both cameras. In the Nikon Z5, you will get 24 megapixel, which for me is enough for travel photography. In the Sony A7 IV, you will get 33 megapixel, which allows to cut the photo to reframe it into a better composition. As well, you will get an excellent dynamic range. It also has very good skin tones and the colors are very lifelike. But could you see the difference when you make a photo with any of these two cameras? Here is an example. For me, the autofocus is a real deal breaker. If the camera is not capable of focus quickly the object, I won't be sure if the object was on focus or not. And that's the case with the Nikon Z5. If you are shooting a landscape or architecture or anything that is not moving, you are good to go. If you are shooting a model, but the model is not moving, then it's fine, you will get the image in focus. But if the model is walking, I got most of the shots out of focus. And for me, it was very difficult to make a photo shoot if every 2 images I have to check if the photo was in focus or not. By the other hand, this is a completely different story with the Sony A7 IV. If you try it sometime, you will see that the difference is huge. You can make photos as fast as you want, and 99% of the time you will get the photo in focus. It's really incredible. The Nikon Z5 can make up to 4.5 photos per second, and the Sony A7 IV can make up to 10 photos when you're shooting in compressed RAW. And don't get scared by this RAW compressed because you will never see the difference. So I prefer to keep it on 10 frames per second. If you shoot in RAW and compressed, you will be able to make up to 7 shots per second, which is fine anyway. Object tracking. In the Nikon Z5, the object tracking is virtually unusable. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't follow anything, and it is so slow that I never use it at all. It's really unusable. By the other hand, it is not like this with the Sony A7 IV. If you ever get to try it, you will be completely amazed. It is so fast, you can follow a person running, you can follow a car, you can follow pretty much any object that is moving, even if it's moving fast. Like, it's incredible, and it will be always on focus. Video. This is one point where both cameras are very different. You can make videos with the Nikon Z5 if you are using a gimbal or if the camera is attached to a tripod. If not, I wouldn't try to make videos with the Nikon Z5 because it will be completely shaky. Even if the camera and the lens have image stabilization, the video will be extremely shaky. I would definitely prefer to make video with an iPhone than with a Nikon Z5. With the Sony A7 IV, that's a completely different story. It is a hybrid camera, which means it's good for photo and for video as well. The video stabilization of the camera is very good, and you can improve it even further by using a software called Catalyst, which allows you to use the metadata of the camera to stabilize the video with a slight crop. But I would say it is worth it to do it this way because you wouldn't have to use a gimbal, which is heavy and you have to configure it every time before shooting. The Sony A7 IV is as well capable of saving videos in S-Log3, which is a format that saves more information into the video and allows you to make a better color grading. It is really amazing. As well, there is an option that is really cool in the Sony A7 IV for video, that is that you can see a heat map that shows you exactly where are you focusing on. So if you want to be completely sure about this option is there for you. And what about the brands? It really doesn't matter if you shoot with Nikon or Sony as soon as you are comfortable with. In my personal case, there are some stuff that are really important at the moment to decide with which camera I work. Number one, the autofocus. If I have to spend a lot of time checking if the photo was in focus or not, I may get stressed and not be able to achieve the result I want. As well, I may think that the photo or video was good, and then when I open them in the computer, they are unusable. This problem is something I won't have with Sony because even the cheapest camera will give me a better autofocus than with most of the Nikon cameras. If you want a good autofocus with Nikon, you will have to go with the C9, that is the most expensive camera from Nikon and that may be completely out of your budget. By the other hand, with Sony, you can buy the cheapest camera and you will have a reliable autofocus. This is something very important and this will change the results completely. The second stuff that I find very important when selecting a brand is the flexibility. With Nikon, you have a very small amount of lenses that are native for Nikon cameras. Completely opposite to this, in Sony you can buy different brands of lenses that are compatible with the E-mount. And for answering the question, does it worth to pay twice as much for the Sony A7 IV than from the Nikon Z5? I have to say it depends on your needs. If you're doing photography of objects that doesn't move too much, like let's say landscape photography or models that are completely static, I will say that the Nikon Z5 is good. I have got very good results in the photos, but I was never sure if the photos were in focus or not. But in case you need a very reliable autofocus, object tracking, and you make videos, the Sony A7 IV is the way to go. It's an amazing camera and has a lot of more pro features than the Nikon Z5. Even though with both cameras you can get great results, I would say that the pro features in the Sony A7 IV worth the price difference. If you want to learn more about these two cameras, I will let you hear somewhere in the screen the reviews I made about both of them. And don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to my channel.